The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here he is, Brandon.
Welcome back to the last podcast for today on the live podcast stage. I am Brandon Peters, the host of the Brandon Peters Show. Hi, Jordan, in the background of the Brandon Peters Show. There she is. With a Y. Everybody has to say with a Y. As if you can't hear in the pronunciation. But today I am here with Mr. James T. Wulfgar of Wulfgar Props, which you may have seen if you've been strolling through the vendor hall. Where are you located?
I am right down the main stage area, I guess.
Like if you were at the podcast stage, you just stroll to the other end of the building.
Very simple. I have no idea what booth number we are.
Gotcha.
We have a flag up in the air. You'll see it.
Gotcha. And what PopCon number is this for you? It's a
I've been here since the beginning.
Beginning. So every one.
Mm-hmm. And I personally had to miss PopCon Indy this past year, but otherwise I've been here in every other one.
They were all heathens while you were gone too. They were out of control. They were talking smack to people walking. I'm like, that's not. He would not like that. And they're like, he's not here. He can't do that. I'm like, oh,
Every time they do that, they just are kind of heathens at the booth when I'm not there. I have to keep them in line.
Yep.
Last time at Louisville, we got shot at and things.
Oh, yeah. We'll cover that in a little bit, baby, our last trip to Louisville. So, all right, you're here this week. You got any special offers, deals, or items that you've brought with you this week? Or this weekend?
I mean, all the stuff that we have is personally touched in some way, and, you know, there's always new things going through our booth. So, hey, Jackie.
Hello to Jackie.
Yeah, we've got random people walking by waving at her.
Yeah, there she didn't sit to check it out. She's like, no.
No, she's probably getting food or something, right?
I got caught.
Get food.
So, for people that don't know, you make like original and replica props for things, which that have been featured in various media, big time, big time to independent.
And every like I guess level. We've sold things to Hollywood. Some music videos, things like that. We do a lot of like independent films and like the like horror movie type films. We've sold to churches and porn studios alike. Pretty much everybody.
Here's a question I just thought of that I've never asked you before. I've noticed the big thing, and PopCon has one, not at Louisville, but other conventions, film festivals at conventions. Have any of your props, like incidentally you were at a convention, they had a film festival and it was used in one of those?
Oh yeah. I mean, Gen Con has a film festival. We have a lot of props in a lot of film festivals.
Okay.
A couple of them have won like, 50, 60 awards throughout the year in a film festival.
Okay. Do they plug you when they win? They're like, if you want to stop by the...
We're in the credits, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And like people see our cool... There was one that like we made a Thor hammer, so people like, when Thor in the short pulls out, like gets his hammer, they're like, oh, that was awesome. And then they'll tell him, hey, Wulfgar made that, right?
Gotcha.
So, but I'm not actually looking for credit a whole lot. I feel like if people are going to search something out, they're going to do it, or... They're going to come and ask the director, producer, whoever they bought the thing, where they got it, and then
makes sense.
That's where they're going to get me.
Very cool, very cool. What has been inspiring you lately that you like have on the agenda, like someday down the road, or you're currently working on with things?
Oh well, so I'm a Gears of War fan. Okay. So I'm making a Gears of War costume, not to sell, but just to wear for myself and my team. And in the meantime, we are also playing Gears of War together because, some of them haven't played. I'm like, okay, first of all, you got to come over. I got the Xboxes set up. Yeah. Let's go. And then 2, we need to be able to like act like the characters in our own form. We aren't trying to like be Marcus Phoenix and, Coltrane and things. We're just going to be ourselves as Gears. So that'll be fun. And that's the one we're working on right now.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, your crew, like, you're not just working together. You guys all, like, hang, and it seems like a really close-knit group.
Oh, yeah. I mean, these are the people I spend my entire days and also weekends with when I'm out at hotels when we're on these type of things. So they're my friends, right? They're people who I want to hang out with. Luckily, I mean, we get along real well, so yeah.
Gotcha. And you guys, just let people know, since we're in Kentucky, you're based out of?
We're out of Lafayette, Indiana.
Very cool. Is that where you grew up at all? I don't think I've ever asked that before. Where'd you?
No, I grew up in Ohio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I have been told that it is a diss to tell someone they have, I found this out today, a diss to tell them they have Ohio Riz.
Yes. As somebody who has a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old, I don't even know how old my kids are. A 9-year-old and an 11-year-old.
Yeah.
Yes, that is very true. They also don't like it when myself or anybody else who is our age actually says anything like.
Yeah, I hate that word, so I will never. I'm like, oh.
Very much so. I can bring my children, like they will fall over dead with shame when I start talking about Ohio Riz and Skibbity Toilet and all that other stuff they're getting into. But yes, it's true that Ohio is definitely not a good thing.
I guess
for kids these days.
I suppose so. I'm like, all right, well, we're only one state over, so.
Yeah, I told that to my mom and my mom's sister, and they were just over visiting. I'm like, yeah, the kids think that Ohio is like a terrible thing, and it means like cringy and things, and they're like, but, and they're very upset, and it was incredibly funny to me. And they look at me and they're like, but what about West Virginia?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not how that works though.
Yeah. Mom. I've had this thing like in the past decade or so where I've been coming to like, I feel like as a pop culture, as a collective, like we need to like stop acting like this country's full of 3 cities, like, because people like, you can only make your place better if you stay there, or you know what I'm saying? Like, and there's cool stuff in like every state.
Totally.
And people just don't find it. It's just not as obvious in some. And there may not be the access to some, but like I had a friend. So when I moved from California, from Los Angeles to Indianapolis, I've had a pretty good experience. And I had a friend do the same. And he had a horrible experience, but he didn't go out and do anything. And he's like, where are you finding all this cool? I'm like, you got to go look. But like, and he's just been like, wow, you're doing all these cool things. I'm like, you can come with me. Like, but I think he wanted it to not like it. So he moved away. He lives in Brooklyn now. So obviously he's going through has much more options of things. But I'm like, there's cool stuff everywhere. And there's cool communities.
There really is.
You got to find the right communities. And
part of it is the fact that like you get what you're looking for, like much like you were saying, right? Yeah. If you're coming to some place and being like, this is going to suck, it's going to suck. That's how it goes. But if you come to some place and you're like, okay, I wonder what's happening here, this can be fun. We approach the same way when we're going to a convention, and there like might not be a whole lot to do afterward.
Right.
We're gonna find something tonight. There's a Troll Tavern that I'm gonna go to.
I heard about the Troll Tavern.
Yeah, we're gonna go eat there tonight. If you want to go eat there tonight.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's exactly. And then also you always have the option to say, what can I do to make this place cooler? What can you've got workshops and you've got out of Lafayette. Which, you've got Purdue University there, that college town, so you get cool stuff. But like, you can do that anyway. You got to have a drive and stuff, but you can make the difference yourself too. I
mean, yeah, you can. There's a lot of I run a makerspace, and there's a lot of makerspaces that are all over the nation, and they are always trying to do really cool stuff, robotics and random stuff, in all sorts of different cities or even towns. And it is really, you get out of it what you put into it. Sometimes there's not like the infrastructure or the money.
Right.
So yeah, there's that.
There is privilege. There's knowing,
Totally.
But yeah, I get you. No, like
that's a very good point though that you're making. That like everywhere is awesome if you think it's going to be awesome, right?
And you can't invoke. I know some places hard, but you can't make the changes you want to see in the place you're from if you're running away from it or leaving and stuff too.
Totally. Yeah. I feel the same way when people were saying that if so-and-so gets elected or whatever, they're going to leave. I'm like, well, why would you do that? Because you still like your country. No, on both sides, on any side of that.
Right.
Why, that doesn't make any sense to love something and then leave it, right?
Yeah.
Like people who give away their pets when they're like old or they can't. I know people do that, but I don't judge people for many things. But holy shit, man! If you are giving away a pet that you've had for lots of years, that's rough. I don't see how you could do that. But.
Yeah. It's funny. I have a friend of my friend Scott Mendelson from used to be from Forbes and stuff. And like I was talking to him, they adopt cats, and like they went through this phase where like his kids kept picking up the older ones. So he's like, yeah, I'm running a cat hospice at my house right now. Like they're all like they some might go for a year, but like he's like they keep this. So we're not gonna, and that cat needs a home. So that's what he do. But there's been like rescue, like, so this little area in the corner between Indiana, Kentucky, and Ohio. There's like I've been told, because when we got our dog, she came from a rescue, but there's no official building. There's some legal thing where people just on the highways dump litters of dogs and cats, and there are people that with this group scour the highways on late nights just to pick them up so they don't get hit and they can find them a home and stuff. What? Because there's like some sort of loophole dead area in the corner, and people will just drop them on the side of the road, and
so like they won't get in trouble. That's why
there's no organization to take them in or do so. Okay. And it's like that's weird. But this one organization, they can't afford a building and all that, but they have foster people that take them in, and that's where we got from. And they have a thing where they're like, hey, we will take your pets right up front if you. You just have to bring the mother, and we can neuter the mother, and then it's free. We'll find homes for these for free.
That is a crazy thing. It's just so sad when that happens. So I want to see animals treated well.
I don't know how we got to that point.
Yeah,
like animal.
Yeah, so happy things. Maybe I don't know. It's important to talk about that stuff. Too, though.
Yeah, it is, and that's where we spin. We mean for this conversation to promote you, but we also, you and I like to spin off on tangents. So that's what kind of what this hour goes.
I don't mind. I figured I'd sit here for an hour and talk to you about the last movies or anything else, or bowling alleys. Or any. By the way, there's a bowling alley like less than a mile away.
There's on 4th Street, a block away.
Yeah.
There's like a bowling alley bar thing.
It's the speakeasy one, right?
I was told about the speakeasy one as well.
Yeah. I looked up the speakeasy one.
He's like, well, so
why are we not going? We should go there sometime.
So bowling alley wise, the last time at Louisville PopCon, we went there on Friday night to one of them, and I got to witness. I got to be part of my first shooting.
Yeah.
So that was not fun. So we make a lot of bowling references and stuff. And what's your photographer guy's name?
Dax.
That's right, Dax. He told me, he's like, we should try it just to see if we're cursed. And I'm like, yeah, but if we're cursed, one of us might not come back.
Yeah, see, I'm with him, though. Like, I want to know if it's a thing that, like, always happens to every bowling alley, always.
I've been bowling since. So
but in Louisville?
Oh, man, no. That's just off the table for me this weekend. I want to go home to my kids. So.
Yeah, I mean, same. I'm just going to make sure I duck and cover faster than most.
Right. So, yeah, that was a whole thing. And then, yeah, I'll talk about it. But, like, but the thing was, it wasn't just it happened that night. Like, things got crazier the more information came out over the rest of the weekend. Like, someone got a bullet lodged in their knee for life. There was a vendor that was sleeping in there, and like bullets were like the number of shell casings found came out. It was like, what is wow.
To me, that was the silver lining of it, right? Like, it was an awful event, but it did bring everybody like kind of trauma together, right? We all trauma bonded. And it's one of those that like you can make jokes about. Nobody died.
Right.
We did actually go back the next day after the shooting, and we went to the bowling alley. And the people I was with were like, "Hey, we need our money back." I'm like, "Okay, well, we can try to ask for that back." But really, it was good to like see the aftermath and talk to them. And they said the lady that was working there that got shot, she came back the day after, and was, I don't know if she put in a resignation or something was happening, but she was okay.
Yeah,
right? She'd had a bullet that got stuck in her leg.
She went to work the next day, I believe.
She was like there at work at least for some amount of time, so she was okay. So it was good to see that everybody was all right.
Yeah, I did an episode of my podcast where I talked about it, like to start my year 4. I brought my life coach friend, Jennifer Rayford, on, and I was telling her, like, I wanted to do something so where, like, I can just open up my mind about what I go through as my podcast journey. So because, like, a lot of people don't know, like, the work that goes into it and what I do, prep and stuff. And I wanted to include that about it. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to talk about this. Oh, and this happened, and I want to talk about it. She goes, okay, you buried the lead. What? I was like, she's like, oh man, she was trying. I'm like, can we save it for the air? Because she was trying to text with me. I'm like, no, we're not gonna do this over text. But so I told her about it, and yeah, so there's an episode where I like talk about it in like some detail and how I felt and like how it was crazy. But I mean, I went on with The Weeknd. Like I remember Rob Weetoff.
You gotta go on with The Weeknd.
Yeah, the Red Dead guy. I saw him in the lobby the next morning. Well, because the hotel I was at, I was the only one that was there from my hotel, and so someone signed a Rob Weetoff in the morning, and they pointed at me like, "Oh yeah, he was there. He was in there." And so he's like, "Hey, come here." He talks like that. He's like, "Hey, what the hell happened there last night?" And I told him. He's like, "That's messed up, but I gotta ask, what are you gonna do about it?" And I was like, "Dude, I gotta put it in the back of my head and finish this weekend, and then I'll deal with it when I get home." He's like, all right, okay. And then so randomly when I got back that night, he was outside at the hotel like parking lot, and he's like, "Hey, how'd it go today?" And I was like, "I killed it, dude. It was great. I had a huge crowd at my thing." And he's like, "That's what I like to hear. All right." I was like, "All right, dude." But he has that gruff voice that he was.
Yeah, he's being supportive though. That's
it was so funny. But I was like, "All right." But I was like, I was the shooting kid at the hotel. That was
you gotta always. There's always a thing that people were known for, right?
Well, and Cooper Andrews, who was a guest here last year, he was out. We were hanging out in the back patio, and he was like hearing all about it and talking to me. And then the next day, like someone came over to me like, "Hey, Cooper's requesting if you could hang out on the back patio tonight. He doesn't think anyone should go anywhere." I was like, "Yeah." So I was going to okay. And then like I was going to get some equipment after his panel or something. Saw me. He's like, "Hey," he was coming off the stage. He's like, "We hanging out tonight?" I was like, yeah. He's like, "You need to talk about anything. I'm like, "It's cool, dude. We'll just hang."
Yeah.
So
again, people were really supportive about that.
Yeah, they were. I mean, I couldn't believe it. Like it was the ultimate. Like I'll never not think PopCon has my back or anybody, because of the way they handled the whole thing. So
yeah, I mean, like I said, it was a pretty traumatic event, but it did bring a lot of people kind of closer together. Some people were joking about it. Some people were just like feeling happy that they made past it.
Yeah.
So in all, it was probably a positive since nobody got hurt.
Yeah. Well, it's a weird, like sometimes I'm not good with fireworks right now because that's what it sounds like.
Really?
So I can watch a movie, no problem, because the gun sounds have a lot more bass in them than.
Wait. So let me break this down for just a second. So it might be I'm more familiar or more used to guns going off, but that like still is it's still
once in not all the time. Not all the time, but like there was like I 4th of July last year, I stayed home. I hung out in my basement
because of the Louisville thing.
Yeah, because that's what it reminded me of.
Oh,
so like because when I heard it, I'm like, it sounded like firecrackers and all sorts. So then and it was like I've been fine for the past year, and then on 4th of July this year, I was home alone because I was guest at Days of the Dead convention in Indy, and my wife and kids went out of town for something we were planning to do, and I took my dog out at like 11 at night, and then it started going off, and I was like, I don't know. And I just went back. I let her go pee, and I was like, well, I thought I was fine, but I'm not. So
yeah, I guess you gotta. That's fine. I guess you gotta know what you're good with, what you're not.
But like the Monday after that weekend at PopCon, I went and saw The Flash in the movie theater, and there was a lot of guns in that. But I'm like, that didn't. My wife's like, what's that? But I'm like, no, that didn't bother me at all. Like the sound that they use in movies is so over the top and bassy.
Totally. And it's a movie. You're like in the middle of watching the storyline and everything else that's happening, so you care less.
Yeah, bothered me none.
Right.
That bothers me none. There's other things, like there's stuff, like it's weird what won't bother me, but like for a while right after, just I couldn't stop thinking it. I think it's probably because I bottled it up for the weekend, but thinking about it, I'm like, oh man, if I was here, or if this happened, or that, like, and my mind was just working it out by kind of trying to relive it constantly and going this option or this option or this option.
Oh yeah, you're classic overthinking. That's what that was.
So that's what went with me.
I'm glad you're. I guess you talked to people about it a bit.
Yeah,
you're doing good. That's good.
Yeah. So.
Hello.
Hello, hello. How are you? Enjoying the PopCon? Oh, okay. Very cool. All right. Thank you. Yeah, are you here all weekend? Do you have a booth? What's your name? Mark. Yeah, speaking of this is going to be a recording later so people can hear you. So
Mark, M-A-R-C, Hirsch, H-I-R-S-C-H. I write the Alice White Investigator series.
Okay. And your booth is where?
D14.
D14. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's been a lot of fun. The other vendors have been really helpful to me about planning my future.
Oh, there you go.
You know, selling at this conference, and
very cool.
It's been a lot of fun.
All right.
And I've done pretty well, even though work hasn't even let out yet, or it just about let out.
There you go. Yeah, and tomorrow will be much bigger. We'll have the Star Trek people here, and that's the big attraction. So
I'm excited to be here and maybe do this again.
Yeah.
It's tough to sell books most anyway, but in person seems to be the only way to really do it.
Right. We have in Indianapolis, we have I think it's called Conjunction. It's a book convention.
Yeah, I've always wanted to visit Indianapolis. I've driven past it a lot.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's where I hail from. So.
How nice.
Very awesome. So, well, very nice to meet you. I'll try it if I get a free moment and walk around. I'll come check out your booth. Oh, you're right here. Okay.
It's on the left.
All right.
It's very shallow. You don't have to go very far to get.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah, we're
Good
definitely.
to know, Mark.
I'll definitely swing by too.
I'm Brandon Peters, the silly mug right there. So.
Yeah, I'm James Wulfgar. I have the props booth down at the very end there on the right.
Mm-hmm. Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mark. All right.
People were, him and so many other people were very just excited to be here.
Yeah. They like having something like this here in Louisville.
Brand new con. Yeah. I forget because last year there was one, but it was in a different spot. So I think there were either people didn't know about it or it was like a different, I guess, location. So it's easier for some people to make it here.
What I like about this building a bit better is you can come and go and do stuff. Like, I got to go to lunch.
Yeah, yeah.
Back there, it was like, it was...
Well, we're in the middle of the city. Like, like this morning I was at the gym and in the hotel.
Yeah.
It's on the 18th floor, and I was looking out over top of, everything in the city, right? It's right on the river, so it's, I was just like, wow, I feel like I'm in Louisville now. Last time I felt like I was, it was good. It just didn't
State
seem
fairgrounds somewhere.
Exactly.
There's more than, I feel like everything was like a Mexican restaurant or pizza to eat around the last time. That was it. And then I went, the funny thing is I went with the Anime Crossroads they're like, we found an Italian place. We're going to take the bus. We're going to go get it. We're going to bring it back to the hotel. And we're like, okay. And we got there and the Italian place was inside the Mexican restaurant.
You're not joking.
No.
Okay.
So
wow.
literally it was all like, it was like a V, and you entered the Mexican restaurant, went over here, and it was just another counter, but like you could have got seated for Mexican over here.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, like I was like, wow, okay. But but we had Italian food. It was okay. But here I had pizza last night, but I went to the pizza bar or what, pub, or it was like New York slice stuff. But
we went to Zombie Taco last night. It was good.
Oh, that's awesome.
Actually, it was not a bad walk from here, and it was pretty good. I do like being in the city. I don't typically I live in Lafayette, right?
Yeah.
So it's not that big of a city. It's big enough. There's stuff to do, but I don't tend to walk downtown and hang out a whole lot. Maybe some in Lafayette, but it's not like a major city where there's
right. Yeah, I've been down there. So. I took, funny enough, I took a British dialect course there on a Saturday. I took like an 8 or 9 hour British dialect course there on a Saturday because my senior year in high school, I got a part in a play. I thought I deserved a bigger part, but I decided I'm going to get as genuine as possible for this thing. So I signed up for this course they were teaching on a Saturday. I went down to Lafayette, and they taught me I think I got a Welsh accent. What they taught amazingly worked, and they're like, here, because this is a crash course, this is how you practice, this is how you take it further, and
sure.
And so I did, and I could like legit speak fluent with a Welsh accent or something. I can't anymore.
I was about to ask for everybody listening. I was going to have him do it, but apparently he can't.
Yeah, I did, and I did this play, and I went hardcore, and I was like the third or fourth person who came out for the bows of like a 12-person cast. It was a murder mystery. I got bumped off way earlier than I thought I should have been.
Oh yeah, of course.
And so the standing O started when I came out. That's
really.
I was like, all the work paid off. Every night we did. We did 4 shows. We did 3 nights and 1 afternoon show, and every single one, the people lifted off their seats when I came out. But no, I remember. I remember this phrase. The phrase they said that I had to say to get into the accent was, "We took the carriage to the marriage, and it was very successful." That was my phrase that would get me, and then I'd speak it perfectly, all my lines and stuff.
But you still can't do it. You can't do it now. Anyway.
I'd need a lot of practice now.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
So sorry to disappoint.
I'm not disappointed. It's a good story. I just really was excited to hear your accent there.
Yeah, I had 2 nephews just graduate from Purdue.
Okay.
So yeah, I never got down there to see them ever. But
I mean, it's a crazy town. Especially when the kids are in town rocking around. So you don't need to. It's nothing Indianapolis doesn't have either.
Yeah. I think all the fun stuff I would enjoy, I'm a little too old for now. That would have been appealing.
There are a couple places that still accept old people.
Yeah.
Which is where I go now. But
yeah.
Like Harry's Chocolate Shop.
So you went to school there, right?
Yeah.
So did you come from Ohio and just stay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did. Yep.
Were you from like a smaller town in Ohio then?
Yes, I was from a small town in Ohio and just came straight over to Purdue and stayed.
Gotcha. Yeah, I went to Muncie for school and I did not stay. No desire, but
I happened to just find friends I wanted to be around, so I stayed. Speaking of friends, let's change topic back to PopCon for a minute.
Okay.
I've been coming here for since the very beginning, and somebody was just asking me the other day, like, so how do you know like all these different people, all these friends? I'm like, well, half of them are literally people I don't remember really running into. I just knew them from some con.
Right.
Like, I can't tell you exactly how I knew them.
Yeah.
Or how, like, the very first day we met, but I know, like, them from a thing. Is it that way for you with all your, contacts and everybody else that you're knowing throughout the world?
I've met a lot of great people or furthered a friendship or relationship with someone I met and known through it. And being a figurehead of this, like, getting used to things still that I had... Some guy was setting up I think it was PopCon last summer. I was setting up the stage, and some guy, I was like getting ready in the morning. Some guy came and had like a whole conversation with me, and I'm like, I don't know who this is, and I hope. And he was like, well, and then at the end he said it was nice to get in here for a sec while you were free and meet you, blah blah blah, and walked off. I was like, oh, he came, like he saw me on like a website or something, wanted to come say hi. Like, I was like, where do I know this guy from? Where do I know that? I don't know this guy. I don't know this guy. I don't know this guy. And he did. And I was like, oh, okay. I guess he came because I was advertised or something there.
Yeah. There's definitely a thing that people do where they come up and they won't know you. Like, you won't be friends.
Yeah.
But they'll come up and they'll act like they're friends. They're like, hey, man, how's it going?
Yeah.
And I do this sometimes by accident.
Right.
I don't think it's intentional. People are just friendly. But then, they like, and you haven't met. And then all of a sudden you're sitting in the back of your head like, oh no, like I don't know this. I don't know who this person is. I feel like I should be friends with this person. So that definitely happens. And then there's times where you just have met somebody once or twice, especially in cosplay, where you just don't remember them specifically about what's happening. It's not like you intend to forget somebody, but that happens.
So like there'll be people where I'm like, I keep seeing them at these. I need to go say something, like, say hi, or like like it was funny because one of them. When we did PopCon 2022, I had a stage, and it reached out, and at the end of it was the Kasohana.
Yeah, I remember.
And I kept saying stuff, like try to get their attention. That's what I do when you're near me. I'll say stuff to kind of get. And it was back in the day when the stage scheduling didn't have people show up sometimes, so I'd have to do filler. And I try to get them. I'd go talk to them, hey, you should come over and be part of my show or whatever. And I was like, all right, fine. And they were just kind of like, And then before Louisville last year, I like sought her out. I was like, hey, you want to come do an interview on my stage or whatever, Mary? And she was like, oh, okay. I was like, she's either going to be like, this guy won't leave us alone, and then she was like, yeah, da, da, da. And then good friends like since then. And then she's like, can you have my daughter come at PopCon Indy on your stage? I'm like, yeah, of course. And stuff like that. So in talking with her at like hotels and stuff, like because just taking the initiative to be like, hey, I'm this guy. I'm like I'm a person or whatever.
That surprised me. I know both of you.
Yeah.
You and Mary and her whole crew. And you're both very personable people.
Yeah.
Right? So it surprised me that you were even that it took you that long. But you're right. There's a ton of people who, I'll see over and over and over at a convention.
Yeah.
And then finally I'll end up having a conversation or a beer or whatever with them. We'll have a meal. And then, from that point on, we're like friends, right? That we're actually, and I'm like, damn, I could have been friends with you for like 3, 4, 5 years before this.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always work out either, right? Like things happen when they happen kind of for a reason. At least I believe that. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, and you, like, I think it was one of my second PopCon, I think it was my second one. You were, like, right next to us. I was a PopCon Indie booth is what not PopCon, Podcast Indie was the booth we had.
Okay.
And it was just a meetup thing we had going on in Indy at the time. And you were right next to me, and I knew my friend, our mutual friend, Jen. And, like, she'd show me, she's like, my friend has the coolest Cable cosplay. He went to the comic store.
This rings a bell now. I was like, how do I know?
Your face was on the at the time, you guys had a banner with, like, your whole crew.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's him. Like, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to say something to him. And then, you and I have, I think we talk way more than me and Jen.
Oh, yeah. I talk to you way more than I talk to Jen.
Yeah.
Like, she's out being happy doing a thing. I've talked to her every once in a while, but I talk to you every PopCon.
Oh, yeah. When we message each other stuff. Yeah. So I was just like, I was like, I'm just going to talk, because I don't think people realize, like, it's a welcoming thing to make friends at these and a welcoming thing to introduce. Like, people don't read their faces. They might have a stoic face or they might, you don't know what's going on, but everybody's happy to meet other people or tell them you appreciate things and stuff like that.
Yeah, it also depends on the situation too, right? Like, I've told people, because, people come up to me and be like, hey, have you ever met so-and-so as a celebrity? They were a dick. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you don't know, because they were probably, like, rushing off to some place or doing a thing. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure some people are. But most celebrities, specifically, that come to these are at very minimum like a people person.
Yeah.
Right? They're not somebody who isn't, a lot of the celebrities don't have to be here. Yes, they get paid well to be here, but they like are here because they want to meet fans and they want to actually like.
Yeah, they're giving you access is what it is.
Those are the people who like they enjoy. There's people who are introverts, extroverts. Most of them are coming here are going to be extroverts because they are intending to come by and meet a bunch of their fans. And a day of just meeting people over and over and over would get just tiring, right?
Yeah.
Especially when it's the same brand new conversation of, oh, hey, how are you? What's your name, right?
Yeah. It's exhausting to talk all day and stuff like that. Yeah.
So if somebody comes in and says the ex-celebrity was not nice to them, I'm like, they were probably having a bad day or they were tired.
You caught them at the wrong moment.
Yeah, right? Like all this stuff, right? So giving people the benefit of the doubt is important. Also, I've met people where I'm like, oh, they seem like they were not friendly, and then I met them later and they were totally friendly.
So there's an event that I've been doing that early on was a bit of a mess, like because I didn't know what they wanted me. They couldn't tell, and I was emailing with them back and forth, and like I'm just like, who the hell are these people? But then one of them just up and called me because I was like, the hell's up with this? And we talked, and I was like, okay, I figured it out. They're not good emailers. That's because talking to him on the phone, like, okay, this is not what the voice I imagined behind it. Then attitudes, like, and they took amazing care of me. Still talk to me all the time. Do all make sure and they want me to do their val. I'm like, wow. I'm like, okay, from the emails, you'd have been like, wow, grouchy people. It's like, no, they're not.
Well, voice inflection is a big thing, right?
Yeah.
And just in general, you also don't want to be that guy who's on an email being like exclamation mark, yay, kind of thing. It seems not professional, but in person, it's fine to be excited, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll walk around here or anywhere else, and if I'm just looking at like the stuff that's around, I'm probably not going to be smiling. I'm going to be like interested in the stuff that's going on.
Right,
and
focused.
I'm probably not like approachable as much as I am if I'm making eye contact with people and smiling at them. But yeah, it depends on the situation completely.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, so anybody, and I always say, this is my thing that I do so you're at an event like this and it's like cosplayers everywhere, right? And you might want to, I always say you need to ask their permission for a picture. And 2, I always ask permission to post it on social media because they don't know who you are. You might be a poster child for something you don't want.
I guess I like the idea of asking people for a picture, but most time if you're asking me for a picture, I'm assuming you're going to probably post it somewhere. Or
that's possible,
It's a terrible idea. Like if it's a terrible picture, or like you don't like how it worked out or whatever, I mean, it's not no guarantee. But yeah, it's kind of a all-in-one sort of thing.
All right.
And also, like if I'm dressed like that, like this is me personally.
Yeah.
I'm not speaking for other people, but if I'm in a full costume, of course I want to get a picture taken. Like that's why I'm out here, right? And it's nice that people ask, but one thing that drives me crazy is when I'll be like obviously stopped and posing for a camera at a convention. Mm-hmm. And I'm like sitting there in a pose, so it's not super comfy, but not super uncomfortable, but it's annoying. And I've stopped what I'm doing because I'm taking the picture. Not that I don't want to do it, I definitely want to do it, but then somebody will take that picture because they asked or whatever, and then they'll be done, and then somebody else will come up and be like, hey, can I take one too? And I'm like, yeah, dude, like that's just snap it. Like if I'm posing for pictures, you don't have to ask at that point. So I wish that people would like kind of know that one.
Yeah.
Right? Like if a whole group of cosplayers like stopped and posing for pictures for a while, you don't see a whole lot, but sometimes you do. They're good with you taking their picture. Like if they're already posing, they're good to take the picture.
Gotcha. Hello. How are you? It's a live podcast stage. Are you here all weekend? Come back tomorrow at 1. Be part of my show. Win a prize. All right? What's your name? Ty? All right. Hope to see you tomorrow, Ty. Don't you forget.
You are the master of self-promotion, are you not?
Well, I got to get people in see my show. My live show doesn't work without people in it because I want to talk to them. I feel like
absolutely.
I feel like I should give the convention people an opportunity to be on a podcast and also go home with something. So
yeah, I mean the guy that we talked to earlier, the
author,
author. You should see if he wants to talk. He seemed like he was pumped.
Yeah, he's having a good weekend. Yeah,
whole brand new.
I had a musician, one of the downstairs musicians.
Oh yeah, they're great.
And do stuff. Yeah, so I have a little time I can fit him in tomorrow. Like, cause I have a full. I've been having. What's been great is like I've been having a full slate for a couple of years now, and it used to be the hardest thing to get like every other hour. So, like my goal was earlier when I was doing the podcast stage was like at least have 2 shows each day, or at least have every other hour something going on. And now it's like full few in a row.
I'm not surprised. This is fun. You like to talk. People want to hear what's going on. I'm not surprised at all. That part of it is just about networking, like we were talking about before. Like if you just known everybody straight off the bat, you'd be full. You would have been full then,
right?
But now you actually know a lot of people, so.
And I like to mix up. I want new ones. I tried to get a lot of local Louisville ones here too, and I was bummed about. They wouldn't take me up on it. Was a bourbon podcast. I reached out to a couple of those, and because that's a local flavor or something. They said, I don't know if I feel like we fit in with this. And I was like, of course you do. They're like, well, I'm like, and I listed all these weird types of podcasts that you wouldn't think would be at the nerd convention, and I'm like, what you're doing, like. You fit in the collector's mold. You fit in the tastemakers mold. Like there's a whole. It depends.
If you don't think you belong here, then you probably don't technically. Yeah. Like not saying I'm going to tell you not to become, but like if you're not going to be comfortable, if you don't feel like you're going to be comfortable at Comic-Con because you're somebody who isn't comfortable around nerds, because we are all nerds,
right? Then
you probably don't want to be here. And like so I get that. I respect that. in the fact they're like, and they were probably politely being like, you know what, I'm not very nerdy.
We had a back and forth, and then they ghosted me. It was fine, but my thing was like,
ghosted you.
I like a varied slate. I don't want the same topic being discussed by different people today.
Totally.
And my thing was, it might be something that I've noticed this too with podcasts. Like, it might be something that someone coming here goes, oh, I didn't know they were having something for that. Or like parents that come might be like, oh yeah. So I like something for as many people coming as go, because one of my favorite things about PopCon is the parents that come, because they're just, they're trying to, make their kid happy and all that, and then getting drawn into all this, finding the fun themselves.
The pride that parents show when their kid has like a cool costume, or the kid like is getting out of their shell or doing whatever it is. That's really, you're right.
To see them in their space, to learn that, hey, there's stuff for me here too, or I remember that, or
Totally.
Very cool, yeah.
Absolutely. But like when a parent basically comes out of their shell a little bit, and then they start getting nerdy, because everybody's kind of got a fandom.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's one of my favorite things to talk to somebody about and be like, hey, what are you into? And they're like, I'm not really nerdy. I'm like, yeah, did you see Game of Thrones though?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, Game of Thrones is a good show. I'm like, yeah.
You may not go deep dive in it after, but you're keeping up.
But you're still also kind of nerdy for Game of Thrones. And they might be like, no, I don't watch any of those things at all. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you ever been to Disney World? And they're like, yeah, I like this. And like every once in a while, I'll go down this weird path and find something that somebody's like super duper nerdy at, right? That they don't think they're nerdy at all, but then they're like really into this one thing.
Yeah. Well, and also I have to say, sports statistics is kind of nerdy if you ask me.
Oh, sure. Like,
but it's the acceptable, like normal. It's like, nah, that's dweeby, right?
I consider nerdy totally acceptable. When I say we're all nerds, or I say it with all the love in the world. Like, this really is a great, fantastic culture. I meet people all the time that are talking to me, and they're outside of work and outside of here. They're like, wait, I heard you like dress in costume all the time. Like, what's that about? And I will straight up, my saying is, don't knock it till you try it. Like, do you like Halloween? Halloween is a blast for so many people. This is all the time, Halloween.
Yeah, one of the DJs and I were talking about Halloween costuming today, because we both had a mentality of like, it's kind of day of, and I try to scramble and get stuff the best I can a lot of time. But that's what I do in college. I would like wait till day of, but now I'm a little more planned. But I also don't ever recostume. And I was telling him about the Halloween. One year I had like randomly so many parties and events. I did like 6 costumes different in October, and it was pretty awesome. I have to say I pulled off. I did Flyboy from Dawn of the Dead. I was literally coming home. I was like, I need something different. I can't recostume tonight. Stopped at like Walmart a Goodwill, and then Walmart they had some cheap fake blood, and I was the blue paint on the face, and I was able to. It looked good for coming up with it and having an hour to prep the costume. I did Roy Scheider from Jaws that year. Yeah. Oh, I did Neil Breen from Neil Breen movies. He makes bad movies.
See, here's the thing: you have enough knowledge of enough different characters that look that you can pull off pretty quickly. Yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah, I pause the screen and I try to mimic. Like I got my Flyboy. I had the blood stains almost accurate to what he had them. Like, because I'm like, no one's gonna believe it if I don't have them in the right spots. But I'm the only one who cares. But I was happy with it.
You're onto something about that, though, right? Yeah. So when it gets down to like costume making. A lot of times people won't really place where something's from.
Yep.
But they'll get it if you have a lot of, like, I'm talking like most, if not all of the little details, right?
Yeah.
Because it's something in the back of our brain subliminally or whatever you want to call it. Somebody's like, oh shit, that's from Jaws. Yeah. Or whatever it is that they're from. And they probably, if you like told them the character's name, they probably wouldn't even know that character is from Jaws. But they see it. Their mind has seen that at some point.
I did one year. I did a couple of different iterations of Michael Myers. So I went as one of them was the Rob Zombie one, where he's got the orange little paper mask around his face and a robe, and the long hair. Because I had stuff around, I could make that up. So I was like, okay, got it. And the other, I did the sheet. I wore the sheet over my head with the glasses over it that he has in the original when he kills PJ Souls. And where I went. Like people were like, Beetlejuice? Is that from Beetlejuice? I'm like, it is not Beetlejuice. It is not. And then when someone like, oh, I know exactly that scene. And I was like, yeah, that's what I am. I'm like too cheap to have the rubber mask and the mechanic outfit, but that's where I'm at with that. But yeah, so I also like to cater to like yeah, hopefully if I can get 5 people to know what I am, that's cool. Like I tend to like relish in that.
Yeah, those are good costumes, right? Those are costumes where, don't get me wrong, all of them are good. I like being in ones that are well known, but every once in a while there's one that I'm like, you know what, this is kind of just for me, or like I happen to really like this thing. And yeah, if it's something that brings a lot of joy, we went as Turbo Kid one year.
Yeah.
Like the year that Turbo Kid came out, we went to Dragon Con like 2 weeks after Turbo Kid came out.
Yeah.
And we all had like jank costumes, but like that's what Turbo Kid's costumes are, right? Okay. And it worked out, and like 7 or 8 or 9 groups of people recognized this as Turbo Kid because they had just come out. But the people who had were losing their mind because if you haven't seen it, it's a fantastic BMX version of Mad Max.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that movie. Yeah.
I show it to people every once in a while. It's like this is actually legitimately a very well done, like.
Yeah, that one made the rounds when it came out. Like, it was so good. I like that one a lot. Gosh, is there anything that you like haven't done yet that you want to do right now? I know you make everything possible. So
we make a lot of different stuff. I'm always wanting to make group costumes, right?
Yeah.
So my big thing is I've done most of the individual costumes I want to do. As far as making things, I always enjoy making stuff for films, especially when it's like a film where somebody's like, hey, I have this idea and this main character is going to have this really cool prop, or like a set of like, if you ever want to do a space cowboy kind of, like I'm talking to somebody actually right now who's got like a space cowboy script that he sent me, and he's like, hey, can you make things in here? I'm like, absolutely, I can make things. I don't know how much you swear on your but I'm all about it.
You've been warned.
Right. I'm all about the fact that like this guy is very much into this movie he's wanting to make.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can make every one of these props. You just like tell me what your budget is, right? I can totally make this happen, and it'll look good on the thing. And I'm almost more excited about doing those kind of things than at least, I guess, a lot of the costume stuff I do for myself. I've done a lot of those already. So making stuff for other people, making things that is like really neat and off the wall, I'm more interested in, I guess, right now.
Very cool, very cool. Well, any last words of wisdom before we wrap this up?
I will say that, like, if you are listening to this and you're anywhere near Louisville, come to Louisville PopCon next year or this year if it's this quick.
Make the trek to Indy too.
Make the trek to PopCon's an amazing convention group, right? They really are. Indy's fantastic. I've been going. It's 10 years, but Louisville is definitely still growing. Right, we're here the second year, but it's new convention center. But I'm pumped to see this like go for a couple more years, if not longer, right? And I want to see it super grow. And if you're watching this, or you're listening to this,
you gotta
you're
show
thinking,
up.
like, where would I? Yeah, exactly. Like, where would I go see Brandon? Where would be a good place to see him? Indy PopCon or Louisville PopCon. I mean, you're here at all of them, right?
Yeah, I am every PopCon there is. I am there. I travel.
So that's my words of wisdom. Come to PopCon.
All right, thank you. Okay, and thank everybody for letting us into your ears while walking around at PopCon today for the live podcast stage. This will do it for Friday. And I hope you have a fun last hour here in the con. And I will be back tomorrow morning as we open up. Doors are at 10, but the podcast stage goes live at 11. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful and safe evening.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail@brandonpetershow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.